Welcome, chosen ones, to this transformative journey. If you've ever felt like you're waiting for something bigger to happen in your life, then you're exactly where you need to be. In today's video, we're diving deep into divine timing, spiritual breakthroughs, and the incredible transformation that awaits you. The universe has aligned this moment for you right now, and everything you've been praying for is closer than you think. So, if you're ready to step into your divine purpose, to unlock the mysteries of your true potential, then make sure you stay with us through the entire video. It's not by accident that you're here. God's plan for your life is unfolding now, and you're about to witness miracles. There are moments in life that stir something deep within a person. It's as if the very core of their being has been awakened, called to attention by a force far greater than themselves. They cannot explain it, but they feel it, a quiet, yet undeniable certainty that they are on the verge of something extraordinary. This is not a random occurrence. They did not stumble upon this moment by chance. No, they were led here, chosen for a purpose beyond their understanding. For the one who hears these words, there is no accident in this timing. God has orchestrated this meeting. It is divine. The listener has arrived at this point, not by coincidence, but by design. The stirring within them, the resonance in their soul, is no accident. Heaven is speaking to them now, and this is no ordinary message. This is a divine appointment, a moment of transformation, the start of something greater than they have ever imagined. They are about to experience a spiritual awakening, one that will change everything. The message is clear. You are the chosen one. God is calling them to something powerful. They may not fully understand it now, but the seeds of divine purpose are being planted. This is the moment when everything begins to shift. The struggles they've faced, the unanswered prayers, the endless waiting, they are all coming to an end. There is no more delay. There is no more stagnation. A breakthrough is coming. And it is coming now. Not in the distant future, but at this very moment. God has already moved in the spiritual realm on their behalf. Things are set into motion. The divine plan has been set in place, and all they need to do is align themselves with it. Their breakthrough is not far off. It is within reach, just waiting for them to step into it. But to do so, they must act. They must trust. They must believe. God has given them the gift of this moment to change their course, and now they must take the first step in obedience. It isn't about perfection. God isn't asking them to have everything figured out. They don't need to be perfect. They don't need to be free from mistakes or doubts. God is not interested in their perfection. He is interested in their obedience. This journey, this divine shift, begins not with flawless actions, but with a simple act of trust. To receive the divine transformation that is coming, they must choose to align with it. The breakthrough begins when they step into alignment with God's will, when they choose to obey, even when they don't fully understand. This is the divine calling, and it requires nothing but their willingness. And this is where it begins. God has instructed them to do something that may seem strange. It may not make sense to their natural mind, but it is an act of obedience that will set the wheels of change in motion. God asks them to place a folded piece of paper with their deepest desires written on it at the base of their spine, between their hips. At first glance, it seems simple, even unusual, but in this small, seemingly insignificant act, the listener is about to unlock something far greater than they could ever imagine. This is not just a random act. The area between the hips, the base of the spine, holds deep spiritual significance. It is the root, the foundation, the point of access to divine transformation. This is where spiritual alignment begins. By following this instruction, the listener is symbolically and spiritually aligning their body with God's will. It is not just a physical action, it is a spiritual act of surrender. It is an invitation for God to begin working in their life in ways they never thought possible. The base of the spine is not just a physical part of the body, it is a spiritual gateway. It is where energy, stability, and purpose converge. This area, often overlooked and ignored, holds the key to unlocking their divine potential. The act of placing the paper between their hips is more than just a symbolic gesture. It is a sacred act of alignment. When they do this, they open the door to divine downloads. It is like opening a channel through which spiritual clarity, healing, and transformation can flow freely into their life. As the paper rests there, the listener might feel a shift. It may not be immediate, but they will sense something stirring deep within them. This is not a passive act. The very act of placing the paper between their hips is an invitation for heaven to invade their life. In that moment, they are opening a portal to divine revelation, to spiritual clarity, to everything that has been locked away within them. It is a quiet but powerful declaration. I am ready for change. I am ready for breakthrough. This is where the journey begins. The breakthrough does not happen overnight, but in this simple act of obedience, the listener has unlocked the door to a life-changing transformation. The process has started. They may not fully understand the significance of this moment yet, but heaven has already begun moving. The pieces are already falling into place. As they sit with the paper between their hips, they are aligning themselves with something much bigger than they could ever fathom. They are aligning themselves with God's plan, and with each passing moment, the pieces of their divine destiny are coming into view. As the listener settles into the stillness, with the folded paper placed at the base of their spine, there is a subtle, yet profound shift. It's not loud or dramatic, but it is unmistakable. Something begins to stir deep within them, a quiet movement, a stirring in their spirit. It's as if the very fibers of their being are responding to something beyond themselves. The weight that they've carried for so long, the doubts, the fears, the confusion, begin to lighten. It's as if a veil is being lifted from their mind, revealing a clarity that was once hidden from view. Though the act may feel simple, even mundane, it is anything but. This small gesture, this act of placing their written desires between their hips, is the beginning of something much larger. This is a divine act of alignment. It is not about the paper itself, but about the intention behind it. It is an act of surrender, of trust, of obedience. And it is in this obedience that transformation begins. This is not a one-time ritual. The listener's obedience, their willingness to follow this instruction, is the key to unlocking a divine shift that will unfold over time. They may not see the full extent of the changes right away, but they will begin to notice subtle shifts in their heart, in their mind, and in their spirit. It is as if their inner world is slowly being rewired, realigned, and reawakened. The changes are not always immediate, but they are sure. As they sit with the paper tucked between their hips, they may notice an unfamiliar peace beginning to settle over them. It's a peace that doesn't come from external circumstances, but from within. It's a peace that only God can provide, a deep knowing that things are shifting, that something new is beginning to unfold. They might feel an unspoken connection, a deeper sense of alignment with the divine, as if they are standing at the threshold of a new season in their life. This process is not just physical, it is spiritual. The act of placing the paper is an outward symbol of an inner transformation that is taking place. As they align their body with this simple act, their spirit aligns with the divine will. It is as if they are positioning themselves to receive something greater than they ever imagined. And with each passing moment, the energy of this alignment begins to flow through them, unlocking areas of their life that were once dormant or blocked. The base of their spine, often overlooked, is now recognized as a sacred space. It is the foundation, the root, the starting point of all that is to come. This is where everything begins. This is where divine energy flows. And as they open this sacred portal, they are inviting God to move in their life in ways they could never have planned or expected. It is in this place of deep alignment that true transformation happens. The act may feel uncomfortable at first, especially if they are unfamiliar with the significance of the hips and spine. These areas of the body, often dismissed or ignored, carry deep spiritual meaning. The hips are not just a physical part of the body, They are the center of stability, the place of spiritual identity, and the seat of creative power. For so long, they may have felt disconnected from this part of themselves. But now, with this simple act of obedience, they are reconnecting with their own divine design. The body, once seen as separate from the spirit, is now being recognized as a vessel for divine purpose. It may be difficult to fully comprehend the depth of what is happening in this moment, but that doesn't matter. The listener is not asked to understand everything all at once. What matters is the act of obedience. By following God's instructions, they are aligning with a divine plan that has been in place long before they were born. The paper, though simple, becomes a sacred contract between them and heaven. It is not just about the words written on the paper, it is about the intention behind them. What they place on that paper is a declaration of faith, a declaration that they are ready to step into their purpose, to embrace the transformation that God has already set in motion. As they sit with this act of obedience, they may feel a stirring in their spirit. It may be subtle at first, but it will grow stronger with each passing moment. The clarity they've been seeking, the direction they've been waiting for, begins to flow. It's as if their soul is waking up, like the first rays of sunlight breaking through the darkness. They may feel a sense of peace that surpasses all understanding, a peace that tells them they are on the right path. This is not just a fleeting feeling. This is the deep knowing that they are in alignment with the divine will. The transformation may not happen overnight, but it will happen. With each day that they continue this act of obedience, they will begin to see the signs of change. The old patterns of thought, the old beliefs that held them back, begin to fade away. They may find themselves thinking more clearly, feeling more grounded, and having a sense of purpose that they've never experienced before. The things that once held them in bondage, fear, doubt, confusion, begin to lose their grip on them. This is the power of divine alignment. As they continue in this journey, they will begin to notice changes, not just within themselves, but in their circumstances. The breakthrough they've been waiting for begins to manifest. The doors that once seemed closed start to open. The clarity they've longed for begins to flood their mind. The weight they've carried begins to lift. What once seemed impossible now feels within reach. It is as if the universe itself is shifting to make way for the divine destiny that is unfolding before them. They are not just waiting for breakthrough anymore. They are living in it. They are walking in it. Their life, their destiny, is no longer something distant or out of reach. It is here, now, unfolding before them. This act of placing the paper between their hips is not just the start of a spiritual awakening. It is the key that unlocks everything that God has been preparing for them. But the journey is not over. The breakthrough is not just a moment. It is a process. As they continue to walk in obedience, more layers of their life will be revealed. More doors will open. More clarity will come. They will begin to understand, on a deeper level, what this divine calling means for them. They will start to see how every moment of their life, every experience, every challenge, has been leading them to this point. They will begin to see how God's hand has been guiding them all along, even when they didn't understand it. The simplicity of the act, placing a folded piece of paper at the base of the spine, may seem insignificant, but in the spiritual realm, it is anything but. This simple act has unlocked a divine shift. It is the beginning of a process of deep transformation, one that will continue to unfold in the days, weeks, and months ahead. The listener has now entered a new season. They are no longer just a passive participant in their life. They are an active participant in their divine purpose. With each step they take in obedience, they are aligning themselves more fully with the plan that God has prepared for them. They are no longer waiting for change. They are becoming the change. They are no longer praying for breakthrough. They are living in breakthrough. And as they continue in obedience, they will see the power of God move in their life in ways they could never have imagined. Doors will open, opportunities will arise, and the peace and clarity they've been seeking will fill their heart and mind. This is the power of divine alignment. This is the power of obedience. And the breakthrough that is coming is just the beginning of everything God has prepared for them. They have opened the door to a new season, and nothing will ever be the same again. As the journey continues, a deeper revelation begins to unfold, one that calls the listener to a higher level of understanding. The breakthrough they have been waiting for is not just an external shift, but an internal transformation. God is guiding them into a deeper connection with the divine. And the next phase of their journey is about recognizing the sacredness of their own body. This is where everything changes. God's message to the listener becomes even more profound as they realize that the spiritual breakthrough they seek isn't just about waiting for a miracle from the outside. It's about tapping into the power that already exists within them. The act of placing the folded paper between their hips was not just a symbolic gesture, it was an invitation to activate a deeper spiritual truth that has always been within them. There's a deeper significance to this act, one that transcends the physical realm. The base of the spine, the area between the hips, is not simply a place where bones and muscles connect. In the divine design, this area is a sacred portal, a spiritual gateway through which the divine can flow into their life. This is the place where their identity is rooted. This is where stability is formed. This is where purpose is birthed. It is no coincidence that God chose this very spot as the point of spiritual alignment. The hips, often thought of as just a physical part of the body, are in fact the most powerful spiritual gateway. When the listener places their written desires there, they are not simply performing a ritual. They are opening a portal to divine revelation, to healing, and to transformation. It is through this sacred space that the listener's spiritual power will be activated. At first, it may feel strange. They may wonder why this simple act has such profound spiritual significance. But as they sit with this truth, they begin to understand this isn't about the act itself. It's about the divine alignment that occurs when they open this gateway. It's about the deep connection between the body and the spirit. God created the body with purpose, and the hips, the base of the spine, are a key part of that purpose. They hold the gateway to divine momentum and spiritual transformation. This is the place where their energy is stored, where their spiritual identity and emotional memory are held. For so long, the listener may have carried pain, fear, and unresolved emotions in this space. The hips have often been the place where unresolved issues or buried emotions that they may not even be consciously aware of, but that still affect them deeply. But now, God is revealing to them the power of this area. Through this sacred instruction, they are invited to release what has been hidden for so long. They are invited to heal, to step into a new chapter of their life, and to activate the power that has always been within them. The listener may begin to realize that their body is not just a vessel, but a divine instrument. Every part of them, from their head to their feet, was created with intention and purpose. The hips are no exception. They are a spiritual instrument, a place where heaven can touch earth. As they continue to follow God's instructions, they are opening themselves to the divine downloads that will guide them, heal them, and empower them for the next phase of their journey. The connection between the body and the spirit is undeniable. The more the listener embraces the sacredness of their body, the more they will begin to experience the spiritual shifts that they have been longing for. The act of placing the paper between their hips is not just a one-time ritual. It is the beginning of a spiritual reawakening that will deepen with every passing day. As they continue in obedience, they will begin to experience the transformation that God has promised. This process is about much more than physical alignment. It is about spiritual realignment. The base of the spine is where the listener's root lies. This is the place where their foundation is built. And when this foundation is aligned with God's will, everything begins to shift. The blocks that have kept them from moving forward begin to dissolve. The pain that has held them back begins to heal. The old ways of thinking, the old patterns of behavior, begin to fall away, and new pathways are formed. It is at the base of the spine that the listener will find their true spiritual strength. God is awakening the dormant power that has been waiting to be activated. The base of the spine is not just a physical location, it is a spiritual center. It is a place where divine downloads can occur. It is where clarity, healing, and transformation are birthed. When the listener aligns themselves with this sacred space, they open themselves to divine direction. Through this act of obedience, the listener is entering a new season of spiritual awakening. They are no longer just waiting for a breakthrough. They are becoming the breakthrough. God is calling them to step into a new level of purpose, and the base of the spine, the gateway between their hips, is where it all begins. This is not just about healing old wounds, it's about stepping into divine alignment. It's about activating their spiritual power so they can live fully in the calling that God has placed on their life. The journey ahead may not always be easy. There will be times of discomfort, times when the listener must confront the pain and the emotional baggage that they have carried for so long. But in these moments, they can trust that God is with them, guiding them through the process. As they continue to follow the sacred instruction to align themselves, they will begin to experience a deeper peace, a deeper sense of purpose, and a deeper connection with the divine. As they sit with the paper between their hips, they are not just waiting for something to happen. They are creating space for something to unfold. They are opening the gateway to divine transformation. This is the moment when everything begins to shift. This is the moment when they align themselves with heaven's timing, when they position themselves to receive the fullness of what God has prepared for them. The breakthrough is already in motion. It is not a question of if it will happen, but when. The base of the spine, this sacred gateway, holds the key to unlocking everything the listener has been praying for. It is not just about physical alignment, it is about spiritual realignment. The listener is no longer just a passive participant in their life. They are an active participant in their divine destiny. And this sacred instruction is the beginning of that process. As they align themselves with God's will, they open themselves to the divine transformation that will reshape every area of their life. As the listener sits quietly, feeling the paper resting at the base of their spine, they can feel a gentle shift. It is the feeling of divine alignment, the feeling of being in sync with God's plan. This is where their breakthrough begins. And with every act of obedience, with every step of faith, they will move closer to the fullness of what God has prepared for them. This is their moment. This is their time. And the sacred instruction to place their desires between their hips is just the beginning of the extraordinary transformation that is about to unfold in their life. The journey that began with a simple, almost unassuming act of obedience continues to unfold in powerful ways. As the listener continues to follow the sacred instruction to place their desires at the base of their spine, they begin to understand that the transformation is not just external, this is an inward revolution. Each day they continue, a deeper awareness emerges. The very foundation of their being is being realigned, setting them on a path that has been written long before they could even fathom it. As they sit with the paper between their hips, they begin to realize that their body is not merely a physical vessel, but a divine instrument designed to carry spiritual power, to house wisdom, and to serve as a conduit for heaven's movement. The hips, often overlooked and dismissed, hold far more significance than the world acknowledges. These sacred spaces are the gateway to divine energy. The base of the spine, that ancient root, is the very point where heaven's touch can enter, where divine instruction can be received, where spiritual breakthroughs are birthed. For so long, the listener may have carried weight, not just emotionally but spiritually, in this area. The hips are where memories are stored, both joyful and painful. It is where the suppressed emotions, the unresolved wounds, the forgotten dreams are hidden. Without conscious awareness, the listener's energy has been blocked, tangled up in the very place that should be the gateway to their divine purpose. But now, God is offering them an invitation to unlock this space, to open the door to the healing and transformation that has been waiting for them all along. The simple act of placing the paper in this sacred area is more than symbolic. It is an act of surrender. It is an act of spiritual awakening, of inviting God into the deepest recesses of the body and soul. It is through this gateway, the base of the spine, that divine clarity, healing, and power will begin to flow. The listener has made a bold choice. They are no longer a passive participant in their spiritual journey. They are actively seeking alignment with the divine, actively positioning themselves for transformation. As the days pass, the listener might notice subtle shifts within themselves. At first, the changes are hard to pin down. There is no grand moment of revelation, no dramatic shift in the physical world, but deep within, the listener will feel it. They will feel the stirrings of spiritual energy that were dormant, locked away, waiting to be activated. It is as if a channel has been opened within them, and they are now able to receive the divine downloads they once longed for. This is the power of divine alignment, the ability to receive what heaven has prepared, to hear the whispers of guidance, to feel the clarity and peace that only God can provide. The act of placing the paper at the base of their spine has unlocked a spiritual portal, one that connects the earthly realm with the heavenly realm. Through this portal, the listener will begin to experience new levels of awareness, a deeper connection with the divine, and a profound understanding of their purpose. No longer will they feel lost or confused. No longer will they be held back by the weight of the past. The energy that once felt stagnant will begin to flow, releasing them into the freedom and purpose that God has designed for them. The power of the body to serve as a spiritual instrument is not new. In fact, God has designed every part of the body to carry divine energy. From the hands that serve, to the eyes that see, to the ears that hear, every part of the body is a vessel through which heaven can move. And now, the hips, often seen as a physical center of strength and stability, are being recognized as the spiritual center where transformation begins. When aligned, this area becomes a conduit for divine direction, for healing, and for breakthrough. As the listener embraces this truth, they begin to feel the weight of it literally and figuratively. There is a lightness that comes with the release of old energy, old hurts, and old patterns. They may not even know exactly what was being released, but they can feel it. The tension, the resistance, the uncertainty all starting to dissolve. This is not magic or superstition. This is the divine at work. It is the natural order of things when one aligns with God's will. The foundation is being reset, and with that realignment comes new possibilities. The listener might also begin to recognize something profound, that this act of realigning the body and spirit is not just about personal healing, it is about spiritual authority. God designed them with a unique purpose, and in this moment of alignment, they are tapping into that divine purpose in a new and profound way. The hips are not just a physical part of the body, they are a place where God's power moves in a tangible way. Through this gateway, the listener is stepping into their spiritual inheritance, claiming the divine purpose that has always been theirs. As they continue to sit with the paper resting in this sacred space, they can feel their body starting to realign with its true purpose. It's as if their entire being is shifting into a new frequency, a new level of awareness, and a new understanding. The clarity they've longed for begins to flood their mind. The answers to their prayers, the ones that have seemed so distant, begin to come into focus. And with those answers comes peace. A peace that surpasses understanding. A peace that can only come from alignment with the divine will. The listener may feel a sense of excitement begin to rise within them. The doubts, the fears, the confusion that once clouded their judgment begin to lift. There is a quiet confidence now, not in themselves, but in the divine plan. They are no longer stumbling in the dark. They are walking in the light, guided by a force far greater than their own understanding. And this guidance is clear. The path ahead is illuminated, and though they may not see the entire road, they know they are on the right track. They know that they are walking in alignment with heaven's purpose for their life. The beauty of this process is that it is not about effort or striving. It is about surrender. The listener is not fighting to make things happen. They are allowing things to unfold. They are opening themselves to divine movement, trusting that with every act of obedience, the spiritual breakthroughs they've been waiting for are coming closer. And as the spiritual shift continues to unfold, they begin to feel more grounded, more centered, and more confident in their ability to step into their true purpose. As the listener continues to place their desires between their hips, the sacred space between their hips becomes not just a physical part of the body, but a spiritual altar. It is a place where divine presence meets their personal calling. It is a space where heaven's power flows into their life, where they are able to receive and activate everything God has planned for them. The breakthrough has already begun. They are no longer waiting for the divine to move. They are actively participating in the divine flow, and the transformation they have longed for is unfolding in real time. Every day that they continue this act of obedience, they are realigning themselves with the divine frequency. They are stepping further into their calling, further into the fullness of what God has designed for them. And as they sit with the paper resting between their hips, they are more than just a participant in their spiritual journey. They are becoming the very manifestation of that divine purpose. This is their moment of activation. This is the moment when everything changes. The journey deepens. With each passing day of obedience and alignment, the listener begins to grasp something fundamental about their divine purpose. They are learning that the transformation they seek is not just an intellectual understanding, nor is it an external event. It is something that happens within. They are discovering that their body, the very vessel that has carried them through life, is not separate from their spiritual journey, but a powerful instrument for divine communication. The body, often seen as simply the physical shell that houses the spirit, is far more than that. God designed the body with purpose, intricacy, and spiritual significance. Every part of it is a reflection of divine craftsmanship, created to carry divine purpose. For so long, the listener may have seen the body as just a temporary home for the soul. But now, in the unfolding of their divine journey, they begin to realize that their body is far more sacred than they ever imagined. It is a holy instrument, designed to carry out the will of God, to receive divine downloads, to manifest spiritual truths, and to navigate through the challenges of life with spiritual power. The hips and spine, once the focal point of their previous act of alignment, now take on an even deeper significance. They are not just physical points of stability and strength, they are spiritual channels. The base of the spine is not merely a place where the physical body meets the earth. It is the root of spiritual power, the conduit through which heaven can pour into the listener's life. This understanding shifts everything. What the listener has been taught about the body in the past begins to dissolve, replaced by a new awareness. Their body is sacred. Every part of it was created with divine intention, and every part of it is an active participant in their spiritual growth. As they sit with this deeper truth, they realize that the body holds more than just physical strength. It holds emotional memory, spiritual history, and divine potential. The hips, for example, are a repository for emotional energy, both stored and suppressed. Every experience, every heartache, every unspoken thought, every prayer unfulfilled has left its imprint there. It is in the hips that emotional memory is stored, memories of pain, of joy, of longing. The body holds it all. And now, as the listener aligns themselves with God's will, they are invited to release that which has been buried deep within. The sacred instruction to place the folded paper between the hips and spine was not just about physical alignment. It was about spiritual surrender. By placing their desires, their hopes, their heartache in this sacred space, they are releasing old emotions and allowing space for divine healing. This act is not just symbolic, it is a spiritual transaction. In this act, they are not just asking for change, they are opening themselves to receive it. They are inviting God into the deepest recesses of their being, into the sacred places where old wounds, unresolved memories, and hidden potential have been waiting for activation. The base of the spine, known as the root chakra in many spiritual traditions, is a powerful center of energy. It is the place where stability, identity, and groundedness are formed. When this area is out of alignment, the entire being can feel unsteady, anxious, and disconnected. The listener may have experienced these very sensations throughout their lifetimes when they felt lost, uncertain, or disconnected from their purpose. But as they continue this sacred practice, they are realigning this root center, opening it to divine healing, and inviting a surge of spiritual energy to flow freely through their body. As they sit in quiet contemplation, with the paper nestled between their hips, they begin to feel the shift. It is subtle, at first, an emotional release, a moment of clarity, a sense of peace washing over them. The act of placing the paper is not just an external practice, it is a deep, internal surrender. The body is responding. It is releasing what it has carried for far too long. Old hurts, past traumas, unhealed wounds, they begin to loosen their grip. The energy that once felt stagnant begins to move. It is as if the body is finally awakening to the divine rhythm it was created to follow. The listener may begin to notice physical sensations as well. Perhaps a tightness in the hips begins to ease, a discomfort in the lower back starts to soften. These are the physical manifestations of spiritual alignment. The body is releasing the blockages that have been holding it back from receiving divine energy. As the hips and spine realign, the entire body begins to follow suit. The listener may feel a surge of energy flow through them, a renewed sense of vitality, as if they are being recharged by a force greater than themselves. This is not just the body waking up, it is the spirit coming alive, fully in tune with the divine will. But this process is not just about healing, it is about empowerment. The body, in its alignment with the divine, becomes a powerful instrument for spiritual action. The listener is not just healing, they are stepping into their divine authority. They are becoming a vessel through which God can move. Every action, every decision, every step they take is now infused with divine purpose. The body, once seen as separate from the spiritual realm, is now a sacred vessel for heaven's power. It is a place where divine will can be carried out. The listener has been given the key to unlock their own spiritual potential. And that key lies in their body. They begin to understand that this is not just a personal journey, it is a divine mission. They are being prepared for something greater, something bigger than themselves. The body is the vessel, and through it, they will carry out the work that God has called them to do. The physical alignment is not just for their own healing, but for the sake of the world around them. They are being prepared to step into a calling that will impact not only their own life, but the lives of others as well. With this understanding, the listener begins to feel a deep sense of purpose rising within them. The alignment of their body is not just about personal peace. It is about positioning themselves to be a divine instrument in the world. Every part of their body is sacred. Every movement is infused with spiritual significance. They are not just a person going through the motions of life, they are a vessel for divine purpose. And the more they align themselves with this truth, the more they step into the fullness of their calling. The listener begins to realize that their body is not just a tool for survival, it is a tool for divine manifestation. God has designed them to carry out His will on earth. And as they continue in obedience, aligning themselves with heaven's purpose, they are becoming more than just a participant in their own journey. They are becoming an active participant in the unfolding of God's plan for the world. The more they sit with this truth, the more they understand that their journey is not just a quest for personal transformation, but for global impact. The listener is not just called to heal their own wounds, they are called to heal the world. They are not just being aligned for their own benefit, they are being prepared to be a beacon of light to those around them. The body, now aligned with the divine will, becomes a tool for change, a change that will ripple out to touch everyone they encounter. As the listener continues to place their desires at the base of their spine, they are not just aligning themselves with divine purpose, they are becoming the instrument through which divine purpose will be realized. The body is sacred, and the listener is learning to walk in the fullness of that truth. The transformation they seek is not just for themselves, but for the world. And with each act of alignment, They move closer to becoming the divine instrument they were always meant to be. As the listener continues to embrace the sacred truth that their body is not merely a vessel, but a divine instrument, the transformation deepens. They are realizing that the more they align with the divine design of their body, the more they are able to tap into the power that resides within them. It is not just an intellectual or emotional change, but a full-body awakening, one that engages every part of them, from their mind to their spirit to their physical being. This is the moment when they step into their true calling, as they begin to understand that their body is a temple of divine purpose. Each day, as they continue the sacred practice of placing their desires at the base of their spine, they are becoming more attuned to the divine flow within them. It's a quiet, almost imperceptible process at first, but with every passing moment, the listener begins to feel a subtle shift, a realignment of energy, a reconnection to their inner power. Their body, which once felt disconnected, begins to feel alive with divine energy. They may feel more grounded, more centered, more alive. It's as if their body is becoming a vessel that is now fully aligned with the will of God, fully open to receiving heaven's guidance. The hips and spine, once viewed merely as physical structures, have now become sacred spaces. The listener starts to experience a deeper awareness of these areas, realizing that these are not just places for physical stability, but the very portals through which spiritual energy flows. The act of placing the paper at the base of their spine is no longer just a symbolic act. It is an invitation for God to awaken them to their true spiritual power. This sacred space is where emotional energy is stored, and where the foundation for spiritual transformation is laid. The more the listener connects to this truth, the more they begin to experience the incredible power of their own body. They might notice their breath becoming deeper, their energy more vibrant, and their sense of peace more profound. This is the energy of divine alignment. The body, now aligned with God's will, becomes a powerful tool for spiritual transformation. The mind, once clouded with doubts and distractions, is now able to focus clearly. The spirit, once weighed down by fear and uncertainty, is now soaring with confidence and trust in God's plan. What the listener may have once seen as simple physical sensations, the tightness in the hips, the discomfort in the back, the fatigue in the body, now take on a deeper meaning. These sensations are not just random occurrences, they are the body's way of communicating what has been stored within it. The hips, in particular, carry the weight of emotional memories, old pain, suppressed desires, and unhealed wounds. By bringing their attention to this area and aligning their body, they are beginning the process of emotional release. The physical discomfort they feel is the body's way of saying, it's time to let go. With every act of obedience, the listener is allowing themselves to release the old pain, the unresolved issues, and the negative energy that has been stored in their body. As they sit with the folded paper between their hips, they can feel these blocks begin to dissolve. The energy that once felt stuck and stagnant begins to flow. The body, once burdened with emotional weight, begins to heal and come into alignment with its divine purpose. This healing process is not instantaneous, but with each moment, the listener feels lighter, freer, and more connected to their true self. It's important to understand that this process is not just about physical healing. The body is not separate from the soul. It is a direct reflection of what is happening in the spirit. As the listener heals physically, they are also healing spiritually. The body becomes the conduit through which God's power is released. The energy that flows through the spine, the sacred root that connects heaven to earth, is now aligned with divine purpose. And as this alignment continues, it strengthens their connection with God. It is through this connection that they begin to access divine wisdom, clarity, and guidance. The more the listener practices this alignment, the more they are able to access the spiritual downloads that God has waiting for them. Their body is becoming a spiritual antenna tuned to receive messages from heaven. It is in this alignment that they will begin to experience dreams, visions, and insights that they never thought possible. The clarity they have longed for is now flooding their mind, and they feel a sense of peace that confirms they are on the right path. God's purpose for them is unfolding, and the body is the sacred vessel that will carry it out. This alignment is not just for personal healing, it is for divine action. The listener is not simply being healed for their own sake, but to fulfill a greater purpose. They are being prepared to become a vessel for God's work in the world. Their body, now aligned with divine will become a tool for spiritual influence. Every action they take, every decision they make, will be infused with the energy of heaven. The listener is not just becoming a healed person, they are becoming a divine instrument for transformation, not just for themselves, but for others as well. This realization begins to shift their perspective on life. They are no longer merely living day to day, hoping for a breakthrough. They are actively participating in the unfolding of God's plan, not just for their own life, but for the world around them. They begin to understand that their healing is part of a larger divine purpose. A purpose that will impact not just their own family or community, but the world at large. As they continue to place the paper between their hips, they begin to feel the divine power of God moving through them in powerful ways. The act of obedience, once seen as a simple ritual, is now a sacred practice that aligns their entire being with the divine flow. Their body is no longer just a physical shell. It is a holy vessel, a divine instrument through which God's power can be channeled into the world. The listener begins to feel empowered, knowing that they are not walking this journey alone. God's presence is with them, guiding them every step of the way. They feel a deep sense of purpose rising within them, a sense that they are walking in alignment with heaven's will, and that everything they do, every decision they make, is part of a divine plan that is unfolding right before them. Their body, once seen as a separate entity, is now fully integrated into their spiritual journey. It is a sacred instrument, fully aligned with divine purpose. And as they continue this journey, they will see the powerful impact it has on their life and the lives of those around them. Each day that they sit with the paper at the base of their spine, they are not just waiting for change. They are becoming the change. Their body is no longer just a passive vessel. It is a powerful instrument for transformation. And as they continue to align with God's will, they will step into the fullness of their divine purpose, empowered to carry out God's work in the world with grace, strength, and clarity. The act of placing the paper between their hips is not just a small gesture. It is the beginning of a divine awakening, a journey that will lead them to become the divine instrument they were always meant to be. The listener, now deeply attuned to the divine shifts occurring within them, stands at the threshold of a new season, a season of complete spiritual rebirth. What began as a simple act of obedience has now become a deep, transformative journey. Every step they have taken has been a move toward alignment. But this next phase is where the full power of divine timing begins to unfold. God is preparing them for something profound, something that will not just change them, but will prepare them to step into a new era of spiritual understanding, purpose, and power. The instructions from God were clear. This transformation is not just a one-time event, but a process. And to fully experience the breakthrough, the listener is called to engage in a sacred ritual over the course of 3 days. The number 3 is not arbitrary. In the divine realm, numbers are more than just mathematical symbols. They carry deep spiritual meaning. 3 is a number of completion, of divine perfection, and of resurrection. It marks the transition from one state to another, and this is exactly what is happening in the listener's life. The first day of alignment will mark the beginning of the shift. The second will clear the resistance, and by the third day, the listener will experience the full transformation that has been waiting for them. For the next 3 days, the listener will continue the sacred act of placing their desires at the base of their spine, just as they did before. But now, the act takes on even greater significance. They are no longer simply following a divine instruction. They are actively participating in a process that will clear the old, restore the broken, and activate the new. This is not just a ritual for personal healing. It is a spiritual war, a battle to reclaim what the enemy has stolen, to break through the barriers that have kept them from stepping fully into their purpose. On the first day, the listener will begin the alignment process, placing the paper at the base of their spine with intention and focus. The very act of sitting with it there creates a shift in their energy. They will feel the subtle stirrings of a divine realignment. This day is about positioning themselves. It is the preparation phase, the moment when their spirit and body begin to sync with heaven's frequency. The listener might notice a change in their thoughts, their emotions, or even their physical body. This is the beginning of the process when they first open themselves fully to God's work. But as with all transformation, there may be resistance. The second day, dedicated to clearing this resistance, will be a deeper, more intense phase of the journey. The listener may feel the weight of the old patterns that have kept them bound begin to surface. The emotions, fears, doubts, and insecurities that they have carried for years may start to bubble up, seeking release. It can feel uncomfortable. It can feel overwhelming. But it is important to remember that this is part of the healing process. It is not the enemy fighting them, it is the enemy being purged from their spirit. Resistance is not a sign that they are on the wrong path. It is a sign that they are moving in the right direction. Just as a sword is sharpened by fire, their spirit is being refined through this process. The resistance they feel is the breaking of old strongholds, the old, limiting beliefs that no longer serve their divine purpose. It is the breaking of chains that have kept them from stepping fully into the life they were created for. The second day is where true spiritual warfare happens. The listener may experience emotional shifts, physical discomfort, or moments of doubt, but through it all, they must remember that these are signs of change. The enemy does not want them to step into their divine calling, so it will fight to hold on to the old. But as they continue in obedience, they are tearing down those walls. They are reclaiming what was lost. It is on the third day, the day of spiritual rebirth, that the true transformation will take place. This day is when the full power of the 3-day alignment is realized. It is the day when the listener will feel the power of divine resurrection, when everything that has been broken is made whole, when every wound is healed, and when their spirit is completely renewed. By the third day, the listener will no longer just feel the shift. They will experience it on every level of their being. The third day is marked by a divine release. The old patterns, fears, and limitations that once kept them bound will no longer have a hold on them. Their energy will feel lighter, their heart more open, and their mind clearer. This is the moment when they step fully into their divine identity, fully aligned with the will of God. They will experience a deep sense of peace, a quiet knowing that they are walking in divine purpose. It is the culmination of their obedience, a spiritual breakthrough that opens up a new era in their life. But the listener must remain focused throughout these 3 days, knowing that each phase builds on the previous one. Day 1 is about positioning. Day 2 is about clearing the resistance. Day 3 is the rebirth, the manifestation of everything they have been praying for. As they continue with the ritual, with each act of obedience, the listener's faith is deepened. This is a sacred journey, one that requires trust in God's timing and in His perfect plan. It is not a journey of striving, but of surrender. The listener is not fighting for their breakthrough, they are simply opening themselves to it. And by the third day, they will be fully prepared to receive everything that God has in store for them. The 3-day alignment process is about more than just personal transformation. It is about spiritual ascension. The listener is being elevated to a new level of divine awareness, where they are able to hear God's voice more clearly, see His plan more vividly, and feel His presence more deeply. This is the moment when everything begins to fall into place, the moment when their divine calling becomes clearer than ever before. In these 3 days, the listener is not simply preparing for a breakthrough, they are becoming the breakthrough. Each day is a step closer to their full spiritual potential. This is the time when their identity is solidified, their purpose clarified, and their destiny set into motion. The listener will no longer be waiting for change, they will be the change. And this transformation will not be temporary, it will be permanent. It will be the beginning of a completely new chapter in their life. The 3-day alignment process is a divine gift, a chance for the listener to realign, to heal, and to step into their true spiritual identity. It is the moment when their spiritual life begins to move from a place of passive waiting to a place of active participation in the divine plan. The foundation has been set. The alignment is happening, and now, the rebirth is on the horizon. As the listener enters the 2nd day of this sacred process, they may feel moments of discomfort, but they can rest assured that this is the necessary step for their transformation. They are not simply waiting for change, they are actively becoming it. And by the 3rd day, everything will be made new. This is their spiritual rebirth, their moment of true transformation, and the beginning of the rest of their divine journey. As the listener enters the 2nd day of the 3-day alignment, they may begin to feel the weight of the transformation. The resistance that once lingered in the background now comes to the forefront, demanding attention. It's not unusual for the listener to feel a heightened sense of discomfort emotionally, spiritually, or even physically. This is the day when the old structures, the familiar patterns, and the deep-seated fears rise up, seeking to challenge the new alignment that is taking place. But this, too, is part of the divine plan. The resistance they are feeling is not a sign of failure, it is a sign of progress. It is the manifestation of old blockages, patterns, and mindsets that are being released, and it may feel intense. The listener might notice unresolved emotions surfacing, feelings of doubt, anger, sadness, or even confusion. These emotions are not new, they have been buried in the body, carried silently for years. And now, with the sacred act of alignment, these emotions are coming to the surface, ready to be released. What the listener must remember is that this is not a battle with external forces, but a spiritual battle for their freedom. These feelings, once suppressed, are trying to maintain their hold. The discomfort they feel is not the enemy winning, it is the enemy losing its grip. The very resistance they experience is proof that they are breaking free from the chains that have held them back. The old patterns that no longer serve their divine purpose are being exposed and dissolved. This is a pivotal moment in their spiritual journey. On this 2nd day, the listener must not shy away from the discomfort. The act of alignment has already begun the process of spiritual cleansing. They may feel the pressure, the weight, or the fear, but they must stand firm in their faith, trusting that God is walking with them through this process. The emotional turmoil, the spiritual resistance, is merely the last stand of old wounds, the remnants of past hurts that have been carried in the body for too long. As they continue with the sacred act of placing the paper at the base of their spine, they may feel moments of release. This is the body's way of letting go, of shedding the old, and making room for the new. It is essential that the listener does not resist the process, even when it feels challenging. The more they lean into the discomfort, the more quickly the transformation will take place. God is cleansing them, not only for their own benefit but for the purpose that lies ahead. The 2nd day of alignment is not just about emotional release, it is about spiritual warfare. The enemy wants to keep the listener trapped in fear, doubt, and limitation. But by standing in obedience, they are dismantling these strongholds. The resistance they feel is the last attempt of darkness to hold them back. But light is breaking through. As the listener continues to align, as they continue to place their desires in the sacred space between their hips, the power of God's presence grows stronger within them. The breakthrough is inevitable. They may not feel the breakthrough all at once. In fact, the process may feel gradual. But that doesn't mean it's not happening. In these moments of resistance, the listener is stepping deeper into their divine purpose. The act of obedience, the act of placing their desires between their hips, continues to create spiritual space within them. This is how God works. He doesn't just remove the old, He makes room for the new. And as the old emotions, doubts, and fears are being released, the listener is being prepared to receive what they've been waiting for. It's crucial for the listener to remain anchored in the truth that they are not alone in this process. The divine presence is with them, surrounding them, guiding them through each moment of resistance. Every wave of discomfort, every burst of old emotional pain, is a sign that they are moving closer to the breakthrough. God is allowing these emotions to rise to the surface so that they can be healed. And as the listener surrenders to the process, they will begin to notice a shift, a deep peace, a new clarity, and a profound sense of renewal. The third day of alignment will bring the final phase of transformation. It will be a day of spiritual rebirth. The resistance that the listener has encountered on the second day will begin to fade. As the body and spirit release the old, they will make space for the divine breakthrough that has been waiting. On the third day, the listener will experience the resurrection power of God. Everything that was broken, everything that was stagnant, will be made whole. The sense of resistance will lift, and in its place will come a deep sense of peace, clarity, and divine empowerment. As the listener completes the 3-day process, they will feel as though they have crossed a threshold. The breakthrough they have been waiting for is not something that will happen in the distant future. It is unfolding right before them, in this moment. The emotional, physical, and spiritual healing that began with the simple act of obedience has now culminated in a divine rebirth. The old has passed away, and the new has come. They are no longer the same person who began this journey. They are stepping into a new season of divine purpose, ready to embrace the fullness of God's plan for their life. The third day is the final act of divine transformation. Everything that has been released, everything that has been purged, is now making way for the listener's true calling to unfold. They are not merely stepping into a new chapter of their life. They are stepping into the fullness of their divine destiny. The resistance is gone. The old patterns have been broken. The listener has been made new. This is the moment when they realize that they have become the breakthrough. The journey that began with a simple act of obedience, placing a folded piece of paper at the base of their spine, has led to something far greater than they ever imagined. Through these 3 days of alignment, they have not only aligned their body with divine purpose, but they have also awakened to their true spiritual power. God has been at work within them, preparing them for a new season. And now, as the third day draws to a close, they are ready to step into their new identity, their new purpose, and their new divine authority. They are no longer waiting for change. They are the change. They are no longer hoping for a breakthrough. They are living in the breakthrough. The 3-day alignment process has brought them to this moment of spiritual rebirth, and they are now fully aligned with the divine will for their life. With the resistance broken and the transformation complete, the listener is now ready to walk boldly into their divine purpose. The journey that began with a simple instruction has led them to a place of complete spiritual renewal. They are not just a vessel for divine power, they are a powerful instrument, fully aligned with God's will and ready to carry out the work He has called them to do. This is their moment of rebirth. The process of alignment has prepared them for what lies ahead, and now they stand, fully transformed, ready to step into their divine destiny. The listener has walked through the process of alignment, each step preparing them for a moment that will forever change their life. The journey has been long, and at times, challenging, but they have arrived at a place of profound transformation. The act of obedience, the alignment of body and spirit, and the sacred ritual of surrender have all led to this crucial moment, the moment when they are not only transformed, but when the very presence of God is about to take up residence within them. As they sit quietly, reflecting on everything that has transpired, they begin to understand something crucial. The breakthrough they have been waiting for was never about a change in external circumstances. It was always about the internal shift that needed to happen. The breakthrough is not just in the material world, it is within them. The breakthrough is the realization that they are now the vessel that God can dwell in. This is the divine habitation. This is the moment when the listener's life changes from being one of visitation to one of habitation. The power of God's presence is not something that comes and goes. The listener has learned that the presence of God, the very essence of divine power, is not merely something to experience in fleeting moments or in times of worship. It is meant to inhabit them fully, to transform every aspect of their being. The hips, the spine, the very core of their body, where the divine alignment began, has now become a sacred altar. This is no longer just a temporary realignment. This is the beginning of a divine habitation within them. God is moving from visitation to habitation, and the listener is now becoming the temple of divine power. Their body, once seen as merely a vessel for the soul, is now a place where heaven meets earth. The base of their spine, the root of their spiritual energy, is the holy ground where God's presence will reside, not just temporarily, but permanently. The listener is being called to carry God's presence in a way they have never known before. Their life is no longer about seeking breakthrough. They are now the carriers of breakthrough. They are the ones who will bring change, not just to their own life, but to the world around them. This transformation is not just for personal gain, it is for the fulfillment of a divine purpose. The listener is being prepared for something greater than they have ever imagined. They are being equipped to walk in a divine calling that will impact not only their own life, but the lives of everyone they encounter. This is the moment when they rise, not just as an individual, but as a vessel of divine influence. The divine habitation within them is the foundation for the breakthrough that will flow into every area of their life, from their relationships, to their finances, to their sense of purpose and fulfillment. God's habitation within them is not passive. It is not a gentle whisper or a quiet presence. It is a powerful force that begins to move through every aspect of their life, bringing healing, restoration, and breakthrough. This is the place where walls come down, where chains are broken, and where the listener steps fully into their purpose. The Spirit of God is not just visiting, it is dwelling within them, and this changes everything. Their body, once a battleground of fear, doubt, and unresolved emotion, is now a sacred temple, a place where divine power can flow freely and unhindered. The listener's journey to this point has been one of obedience and surrender. Every step they have taken, every act of faith, has led them to this point of divine habitation. They have been made ready to house the very presence of God. And now, as that presence fills them, they will begin to experience a level of spiritual clarity and insight that they never thought possible. The breakthrough that they have sought for so long is not something that is coming in the future. It is already here. It is the presence of God within them, filling every space, bringing divine order to every area of their life. This is a moment of profound empowerment. The listener is not simply waiting for breakthrough to come from outside of them. The breakthrough is already within them, and it will continue to expand as they align with God's will. The very presence of God dwelling within them is the breakthrough. It is the moment when they realize that they are not separate from the divine, they are one with it. They are now a living vessel of God's power and purpose. As this divine habitation takes root, the listener will begin to see shifts in their external circumstances. Relationships will begin to align with divine purpose. Financial blockages will begin to dissolve. Areas of confusion will be replaced with clarity. God's wisdom, strategy, and protection will become evident in every step they take. The breakthrough that they have sought will be seen in the physical world, but it all begins in the spirit. The divine habitation within them is the catalyst for all the external changes they desire. But this transformation is not just about receiving blessings. It is about becoming a channel for divine blessing. God has chosen the listener not just to receive his power, but to carry it and share it with others. The breakthrough within them will flow outward, touching the lives of everyone they encounter. This is the divine purpose that has been prepared for them, a purpose that goes beyond personal healing and success. It is about being a vessel of divine influence in the world, a light in the darkness, a source of peace and power for others. The listener may begin to feel a deep sense of responsibility in this moment. With the divine habitation comes the responsibility to steward God's presence well. They are being entrusted with a powerful gift, one that is meant to bring about transformation not just for them, but for the world around them. This is the moment when they rise not as someone seeking breakthrough, but as someone who has already stepped into their divine purpose. This rise is not just about external success. It is about spiritual elevation. It is about stepping into a higher realm of divine authority and purpose. The listener is being called to rise above their past limitations, their doubts, and fears. They are being called to step fully into the identity and purpose that God has always had for them. The divine habitation within them is the foundation for this rise. It is the key to their spiritual authority and the gateway to the breakthrough that will bring them into alignment with their divine destiny. In this sacred space, the listener is no longer waiting for breakthrough, they are living in it. They are no longer waiting for divine power to move. They are the vessels through which divine power moves. This is the moment of activation. The breakthrough is no longer a future event, it is a present reality, and the listener is fully alive to it. The listener has been made ready to carry out their divine purpose in the world, and with this divine habitation, they are stepping into the fullness of their calling. As they embrace this powerful truth, the listener feels a profound shift in their heart and mind. This is not just a spiritual experience, it is a new way of living, a new way of seeing the world. They are no longer bound by fear or uncertainty. They are filled with divine purpose and confidence, knowing that they are equipped to carry out the work that God has called them to do. This is their moment to rise and step into their destiny. The divine habitation within them is the foundation, and from this place, they will see the breakthrough that transforms their life and the world around them. As the listener continues to step deeper into the divine habitation that has taken root within them, they begin to experience the profound shift that occurs when God's presence is not just visiting but dwelling inside. It is no longer a fleeting encounter. It is a permanent transformation. This is the beginning of their life as a true vessel for God's glory. A life where every moment, every decision, and every action is infused with divine purpose. The breakthrough that they once sought is now fully realized. It is not a distant event that will one day happen. The breakthrough has already arrived, and it is unfolding right now. In the very core of their being, the presence of God, once an occasional experience, has now become an integral part of who they are. This is the true meaning of divine habitation. God's power is not something to be sought after externally anymore. It is within, guiding, directing, and empowering them from the inside out. The listener may begin to feel the changes, not just in their spirit but in every aspect of their life. There is a new sense of peace that fills their heart, a deep and unshakable knowing that God is present with them at all times. This peace is not contingent on external circumstances. It doesn't matter what storms may come their way. This peace is rooted in the truth that they are never alone, that the divine presence is dwelling within them, and with that presence comes everything they need to face life's challenges. It is in this divine habitation that the listener starts to truly understand their spiritual authority. They realize that they are no longer subject to the forces of fear, doubt, and insecurity. Those chains have been broken. They are no longer at the mercy of the world around them. The power of God within them is greater than any external obstacle they may face. This is the breakthrough that they have been seeking, the revelation that they are co-laborers with God in bringing His kingdom to earth. This divine partnership allows them to step into their true calling as vessels of transformation in the world. The breakthrough also carries a deep sense of responsibility. With divine habitation comes the understanding that they are now the carriers of God's power. Their life is not just about personal healing or growth, it is about being a light to those around them. The transformation they have undergone is not solely for their own benefit. It is meant to be shared. As they carry God's presence within them, they become conduits of divine love, wisdom, and healing. Everywhere they go, they are a walking manifestation of the divine. The breakthrough is not something to be kept for themselves. It is something that must be poured out to others. This understanding of divine habitation shifts their perspective on every relationship, every encounter, and every moment in life. They realize that they have been positioned to bring change, not just in their own world, but in the lives of those they touch. God's presence is no longer a quiet whisper that only they can hear. It is a powerful force that flows through them, touching the lives of everyone they encounter. They become a beacon of divine light, offering healing, hope, and truth to those who are lost in darkness. As they walk in divine habitation, the listener begins to see the world differently. The challenges they once faced, financial difficulties, relationship struggles, career uncertainties, are no longer obstacles. They now see these challenges as opportunities for God's power to be demonstrated in their lives. Where there was once fear, there is now courage. Where there was once uncertainty, there is now confidence. The listener is not merely surviving, they are thriving, empowered by the very presence of God dwelling within them. In this state of divine habitation, breakthrough continues to unfold in waves. It doesn't happen in a single moment, it is a continuous, ever-expanding transformation. The breakthrough is not just the destination, it is a way of life. The listener begins to witness God's miraculous power manifest in their daily life. Relationships are healed. Doors that once seemed closed swing wide open, and opportunities flow in. The breakthrough they once sought is now a reality, and the listener realizes that it was always within them. The key was aligning with God's presence and allowing that presence to fully inhabit their life. The divine habitation also brings with it the gift of spiritual insight. As the listener continues in this sacred partnership with God, their spiritual senses become more attuned to His voice. They begin to hear His guidance more clearly, to feel His presence more intimately, and to understand His will more profoundly. This insight is not just for personal growth, it is for the fulfillment of their divine purpose. God is preparing them for a mission that goes beyond their own desires. They are being equipped to bring heaven to earth in a way that transforms the world. The listener also begins to realize that the journey does not end here. The process of divine habitation is ongoing. They are continuously being transformed, continuously being made new, and continuously being prepared for greater levels of impact. With each passing day, they grow more in alignment with God's will. They are no longer passive recipients of divine blessings. They are active participants in the unfolding of God's kingdom on earth. The breakthrough that they sought is no longer a future event. It is their present reality. And as they continue to walk in the power of divine habitation, they will begin to experience a fullness of life that they never imagined possible. The very presence of God, now fully alive within them, empowers them to do the work that God has called them to do. They are not waiting for the breakthrough to come, they are living in it. And that breakthrough will continue to unfold in their life, carrying them to places they never thought they would go. With divine habitation, the listener steps into a new realm of spiritual authority and power. They rise up, no longer as a person waiting for change, but as someone who has already stepped into their divine calling. Every action they take, every word they speak, and every step they make is infused with the power of God. They are no longer bound by the limitations of their past or the fears of the future. They are walking in the fullness of their divine identity. This rise is not just personal, it is a call to action. The listener is being called to rise up, not just for their own transformation, but to bring transformation to the world around them. The breakthrough they have received is meant to be shared, and as they rise, they will lift others with them. They are now agents of divine change, bringing the kingdom of heaven to earth through their lives. With divine habitation comes a deep sense of peace and purpose. The listener knows that their life is no longer their own. They are living for something greater than themselves. They are living as vessels of God's power, carrying His light into every corner of the world. Their rise is the rise of divine purpose, and as they continue to walk in alignment with God, they will see the breakthrough unfold in ways they never imagined. This is their time to step fully into the calling that God has for them. It is their time to rise, and with each step they take, they will carry the light of divine habitation to a world that desperately needs it. Thank you so much for joining us on this divine journey today. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We want to keep spreading these life-changing insights to those who need it the most. Your support helps us reach more people, and together, we can create a wave of transformation that will ripple across the world. If you're ready to embrace the transformation that's unfolding in your life, let us know in the comments below. Remember, your breakthrough is coming, and we're here to walk with you every step of the way. Stay aligned, stay faith-filled, and see you in the next video.